Hello and welcome to Enchantment of Eternity's live stream where I just talk about some random crap. It's my random crap live stream. So it's been a while. It's been a really long time since I've done one of these solo live streams where it's just me, where I just interact with the chat and just babble on about whatever. So I think it's been like almost a year, really. Well, maybe not a year, maybe half a year, but it's been a while. So I thought I'd come on and just do one of these. There's some shows that I've watched and some movies I've seen, which I can't be bothered making a video about. So I'll just talk about them here, spoiler free, of course. And just some other random topics that I thought might be interesting to talk about. And if anyone in the chat wants to ask me a question at any time or talk about anything, go ahead. It's open forum here. So, like if you're familiar with my channel, I'm taking a little break in September. Not really. I'm still releasing some videos. I guess this is what constitutes a break for me, I guess, because I'm still doing Better Call Saul, and I'm still doing these live streams. So I decided to do a live stream a week in September. So I did a live stream with Ellen at the start of the month about Neelix. If you haven't seen that, you should check that out. Interesting discussion. And then last week I did a discussion with Wes from the Penske File. Which is a YouTube channel I really enjoy. I watch he does a podcast on Star Trek at the moment covering Deep Space Nine. So we talked about Deep Space Nine. That was great. That was a really great discussion. But I feel like because I was worried about running over for time and I felt a bit nervous really having a guest like that on who don't really know each other, just familiar with his YouTube channel. It's always a weird feeling. If you watch a YouTube channel a lot, you're used to listening to someone talk, but you're used to listening to them talk pre-recorded. It's a weird feeling when you actually get to interact with them. So I was mainly paying attention to his conversation. I feel like I was neglecting the chat because of that, unfortunately. So this stream is where I can interact directly with the chat. At the moment, we just have Cardinal Doomsday. Hello, always good to see you. And also Dina, I believe you said it was pronounced Dina. Hello, how's it going? So I was just listening, I just went for a walk. It's a really nice spring day here in New Zealand at the moment, really sunny. Also, it's not too warm. It's still a bit breezy, still early spring, but it's a nice day. So I went for a walk by a waterfall, which is right by my house. It's really scenic. And I was listening to book 1 of The Expanse, in which I've actually listening to it on audiobook, and I've actually read, if you call that reading or listening, whatever, but I've read that book so many times now because I did my book to show comparisons for The Expanse, but I need to read it again because I'm preparing to do book reviews for every single book of The Expanse leading up to the newest book, which comes out in, I believe, March. Which is because originally it was supposed to come out in December, but they delayed it. And I was actually glad because if they had released in December, I wouldn't have had time to review every Expanse book. So I was going to just review all of the books in one video, which would have been like a hassle. I wouldn't have been able to get into any detail. But since they pushed it back, I now have time to actually review every book one at a time. It's going to be, God, I've read book 1 so many times now, and plus I've seen season 1 so many times, so it's kind of sick of the story. So I don't know, because book 1 is really similar to season 1, so I don't really think I'll have, and it's not about comparing the book to the show, because I already have videos for that, the book to show comparison, just talking about the book itself. I'm not sure if I'll have much to say about it, but maybe that will be a short review. And when I get into later books that the show hasn't covered yet, those reviews will be a bit longer. But I thought it would be cool to do every book. Yes. Okay, so hopefully more people will trickle in the live stream. I know usually when I start, there's only a couple people, and more people join and will say, hey, he's live streaming. I almost had the urge to just not come in and just not say anything, just have it blank and wait for more people to come in. But then those watching in the archives would get, why is there a half-hour blankness at the start? And they would get off put by that. Anyway, so for those who are actually watching this after the fact, let me go ahead and get into some of these reviews I was talking about. If my mouse fucking works. Okay, so I've seen a couple of shows and films, so I'll just sporadically, like not all together, but just sprinkle throughout this video. I'll give some reviews. So let's start with my first review. Oh wait, there's Dina saying my freaking hard drive crashed on my laptop today, so I'm using my Kindle Fire. I didn't even know you could use Kindle to watch YouTube. Yeah, that does sound frustrating. Anyway, so let's get into my first review, which is for The Predator, which I actually saw last week. I wanted to do a video about it, but I was doing a live stream with Wes last week, so I didn't want to, have two live streams come out right next to each other. And with Wes, we wanted to talk about Deep Space Nine. I did, before we went on air, I did chat up a little bit about The Predator, because he was talking about how he saw my Predator 2 is better than Predator 1 video, and he's like, that wasn't a good first impression. Because I guess he really disagreed with me, but I'm sorry, I'm sticking by it. But anyway, and I was talking to him about how I didn't like The Predator, the new movie that just came out. So that's my review. I don't like it. Anyway, I've always been I've had a huge soft spot for The Predator. It's always been a favorite franchise of mine, even though most of the movies in it aren't that good. It's just the first two. Yes, the second one as well. But the rest are kind of bland. And, well, there's only one other, actually, Predators, which is okay. I did like this video with Darren and Josh from Geeksiders, and they rate that movie so much higher. I was actually really surprised that they really liked that movie. I didn't think I thought most people thought it was just bleh. I didn't know there were people out there that really liked it, because I had it ranked at, we had 25 space movies and I had it ranked at 16 or something, which I think is a reasonable spot for it. They had it at number 9 or number 7. I'm like, what? Really? And then Josh is arguing and saying, oh, no, they actually, it has a point to it. And I don't think it has a point. It's just like predators going around killing people. My opinion, of course. But anyway, The Predator. So I have a soft spot for the Predator franchise, so I was really looking forward to it. Of course, I was going to get see this on opening day, even though I heard the reviews started coming out and they were not positive. They were quite negative, but sometimes I hear a lot of negative reviews and I like a movie anyway. Like X-Men Apocalypse is a great example of that. I didn't think I like it because of the reviews, but I went in and I was like, what the fuck are these critics talking about? That movie is amazing. And Interstellar, but Interstellar is more, that wasn't so much as mixed as negative as it was more mixed. Like some people really loved it and some people hated it. So I didn't really know where I was going to fit. And when I went and saw, I was like, wow, this is amazing. What the hell is wrong with those people who hate it? Anyway, so just because it got bad reviews doesn't necessarily mean it's going to suck. So I went and saw The Predator anyway. And to be fair, I don't think it sucked. I think there's some good aspects to it. The humor worked. The characters were interesting. I like the main character in particular. A lot of people who gave him bad reviews are bitching about I think her name is Olivia Munn, who plays the scientist, and thinking that she was horribly miscast and she did a horrible job. I don't see it. I'm sorry. I was fine with her. I didn't have a single issue with her. I mean, I didn't think she was amazing. I didn't think she was the best part of the film, but I didn't think she was the worst part either. She's there. I mean, maybe I'm just more I've been cold, a bit stale to the Hollywood throwing in hot leading ladies just for the hell of it, because really, I mean, does she really look like a scientist or act like a scientist? Not really. But the whole movie, my issue with the movie is that it had that, it's hard to put into words, because the way I would say is doesn't have a sense of realism. It doesn't come off as like realistic. It comes off as sort of a fake or intangible universe. Now, obviously, when you say that about a science fiction movie about an alien monster going around killing people, most people will latch on, well, of course it's not realistic. It's about an alien. No. But even within, like, with science fiction, you have, and I hate this, people say that about Game of Thrones a lot, but anyway, I don't want to get distracted because this still needs to be realistic in the fantasy realm. But anyway, when you're doing science fiction fantasy, you have to have a sense like the characters need to feel real, the situations need to feel real, even though there's these really fantastical fictional elements that you have to suspend disbelief for. Sure, you have to suspend disbelief, or Star Trek is taking place like 500 years in the future, and there's a bunch of aliens walking around that with weird shit on their foreheads that just look like humans. You just accept that, suspend disbelief, but it has to convince you in other ways. It has to be realistic in other ways, if you know what I'm saying. So it's the same thing with the Predator movie. It's like, yes, there's a big scary monster going around killing people. Suspend disbelief for that. But other than that, it needs to feel like a real, tangible universe. And I got that with the first Predator movie. I got that with the second Predator movie. I know some people would disagree. And I even got that with the Predators, because that was taking place in the alien world. So again, you had to suspend disbelief for that. But the human characters, the human element, that felt realistic. Their interactions felt real. I didn't get that at all with the Alien versus Predator movies, which is why I hate those movies. And so the Predator, like, the characters felt real. Like, their interactions felt real. It was the situations. It was some of, like, they had this asshole bad guy, and I didn't buy him for a single goddamn second. Not for 1 second did I buy this character. And just the whole like the plots, the things that would happen, like the way people, not the characters, but the way society would behave and the way the FBI functioned felt very fake. It felt like something out of a crappy B movie. It didn't feel real. It didn't feel tangible. Like, since I'm talking about the Predator, I can contrast that to Predator 2, which also featured some FBI government agents, and it did feel kind of TV movie-ish. I mean, I suppose to a bit, but you could still buy it. It didn't feel like comically silly, but it did here. And the Predator, the way they used like government agents like the FBI, it felt comically silly in a way I couldn't buy, and that doesn't work for me. And just the whole entire plot, like a lot of people were saying, is they shoved too much plot into this movie, and that is definitely the case. And this isn't a spoiler because it's revealed in the trailer, unless you consider the trailers a spoiler, in which case, why are you watching anything on YouTube at all? But this isn't a spoiler. But the movie is about like this other, like there's 2 different kinds of predators, and there's one that's huge, it's like genetically modified, and it's evil and badass. It's a hybrid. When I saw that in the trailer, that really turned me off, and I was hoping that somehow the movie would justify that, but it didn't. Like, I just hate that concept. And it's just something like a lot of modern movies seem to be obsessed with. Oh, let's splice in DNA to make it bigger and badass and bigger and different and bigger and more destructive, like Jurassic World and shit, with doing that with the Indominus Rex and bullshit like that. And I just don't like it, and I don't think it worked at all for this movie. I did not like that element to it. And it's a sad thing, really, when you have to say your favorite parts of a Predator movie are the scenes without the Predator. The scenes that were just with the people, the human interactions were the best part of the movie. And that's sad. You go to the Predator movie to see a Predator. And so it's sad when you have to say the parts with the Predator in it weren't good. Although there were some parts with the Predator that worked before they introduced the Megasaurus, whatever. Before they introduced that abomination of a Predator, when they had the normal Predator, there were some suspense scenes that worked, but again, it was kind of undercut by the silly and non-realistic world that it was setting. Anyway, I sort of rambled enough about the Predator. Let's see what's going on in the chat. I'm just going to scroll up to see what I missed here. Let's see. A redo that did not come in your face. Dina, I like the first Predator. The rest aren't worth watching. Forrest Campbell, what's up, everyone? Hopefully, everyone is having a well day. Let's see. And Critch, I think I'll say Critch. You could use the redo as a script writing text if was so artificial, fun in places, but never got into redo. Forrest Campbell says, I have a guilty pleasure for Predator 2. Predator 1 and 2 were more about violence and bro soldiers. Jesse says, get to the chopper! Yeah, they actually, you might consider this a spoiler, but they had that line in this movie. And it was so, I almost groaned when they said, I was like, oh, really? Like, there was another line that kind of, from the classic Predator line that they paraphrase. I won't give that away. And that I actually think worked. But this one, when he just said, get to the chopper, I was just like, oh, God, for fuck's sake. It's just like every Die Hard movie, they have to say yippee-ki-yay, and every Terminator movie, they have to say, I'll be back. And it's just, but anyway, Predator 2. So, what I'll say about this new Predator movie, it wasn't as bad as the Alien versus Predator films. Very, very, not few movies are that bad. And I had some people, like my flatmate was trying to defend them, like, oh, they're actually pretty good. No, they're not. They're absolute garbage. They're shit from start to finish. So this new movie is nowhere near as bad as that. But it did kind of remind me of that, as I said, which is never a good thing. But I would actually say it is, other than those abominations, I would say it is the worst Predator movie, or the worst in the actual Predator franchise. Again, it's not horrible. I think I give it like a 5 out of 10. So because there were enjoyable moments, like Thomas Jane, good old Miller was in this, and he was really good in this. He was very enjoyable. So it had good moments in it, but it didn't, when you look at it as a cohesive, altogether structure, it just doesn't hold. So I would actually put Predators above this, and which again I'm not that big on because it was kind of bland, but at least to me, at least it had that realistic feeling to it. It had that, and the plot made sense. Maybe it was a bit too simplistic was the problem with the Predators, but at least it wasn't like too much in it, like the Predator. So I would put Predators in it. But it's not as good as the first Predator, and it's definitely not as good as the best Predator movie, Predator 2. Someone in the chat said Predator 2 is a guilty pleasure. It's not a guilty pleasure. It's a great movie. You don't need to feel guilty about watching a great movie. Anyway, how can people not like Predator 2? It's so amazing. Well, I will admit, part of the reason I do like it is kind of the cheese factor, because I did a review for it, and it's like it takes all the cliche of the renegade cop, the 80s action movie cliche with the renegade cop who's a badass, he's a lone wolf, and he goes off his own, and the chief is always yelling at him. It takes that cliche and like pumps it on steroids. Like takes it up to a 20. It like overblows that cliche, and I love it. In fact, I almost look at it as a parody, as like it's kind of making fun of the other. And then you throw in a Predator in there. I don't know. But the whole movie, I think is actually scarier. I think the characters are better. I think it's a lot more fascinating. Gets more into the Predator lore. But that's just me. That is just me. I know a lot of people don't appreciate the Predator movies. Anyway, I don't usually groan in the theaters, Colonel Doomsday. I think the only time I noticed, as I said, this is the only time I usually don't make noise in theaters because I don't like people who do that. Like, remember when I was a kid, I saw movies with my grandmother, and she talked a lot, and I felt so embarrassed. She was like, "Uh-oh, look at him!" And I was just like, "Oh no!" And I saw The Hobbit, like the second Hobbit movie, The Desolation of Smaug, with a friend of mine. I went to film school with, who was very loud. He has this very, very loud laugh, and he always laughs hysterically. And it was the scene where I can't remember. Oh, it was like one of the dwarfs, like the hot looking dwarf was like, injured, and he woke up, and Kate from Lost, who was the elf, Kate elf, she was there waking up and holding his hand, and they had her like glowing to show that they were in love, and he was laughing hysterically. At first I was a bit embarrassed because everyone was looking at him, and in the middle of the Hobbit movie, like very loud laugh would just he was just laughing at it. He was like, "That's so dumb!" And I started laughing too. I just couldn't help it. I just had to laugh at that. But normally I don't like to make noises when I see the movie. I always point out the exception. The main exception for me is when I saw Captain America Civil War, and they revealed Zemo, the villain's plan. They revealed his plan, and I was just like, "Oh, come on! That's so dumb." That was the only time I really. Maybe there was one other time, but I usually don't like making noise. But that was just so stupid. It frustrates me that people defend that. I like Don, I like Darren, I like Josh. I appreciate their opinions. I love doing discussions with them, love their channels. But oh my God, I was just thinking some of the stuff they were saying and defending that. Well, of course, there's no defense for it. It's just that was the most convoluted, ridiculous. And lots of people love to fansplain. Oh, you don't understand. No, it's bullshit. Anyway, not getting into that. Colonel Doomsday says the Hobbit films are an abomination. Yes, they are. Anyway, I only got 4 viewers at the moment. Oh well, hopefully more people will come in. Anyway, so let me get into another review. Why don't I? Let's review the latest season of Bojack Horseman. So, Bojack Horseman. This is a show I've watched, I think, last year, because I have friends who love it and they keep saying, "You have to watch it, you have to watch it." And then there was this commenter on the channel who actually took his username from Bojack Horseman, which is Vincent Adultman. And he kept telling me over and over again, "Do a review for Bojack Horseman." But I still haven't done a review for it. But like, I started watching it and I didn't like the first season very much, and I was like, I don't really see what this is talking about. This show just isn't for me. But everyone's like, "No, you have to keep watching it." So I was like, "All right, fine." I kept watching it, and I love it. I loved it. In fact, going back and watching those first episodes now, I think they're hilarious. I don't know why I didn't like it in the first place. I guess it just takes a while to get into the rhythm of the show, maybe. But once you get into it, I think it's got some of the best comedy out there. Like the Vincent Daltman in particular, like that character is one of my favorite characters. I love that every time he was on screen, he appeared at the end of season 1, and he was in season 2, and that's it. They didn't have him after that because I think they realized that the joke was getting old, and if they kept him around, it just would have got stale. There's only so much they could do with the joke. But for those not familiar, Vincent Adultman was 3 kids stacked on top of each other wearing a trench coat, kind of like from Little Rascals. And he'd go to like bars and whatever, pretend to be adult, and everyone just took him at his word that I was an adult. Like one of the female characters was like dating him for a while, and Bojack was the only one who was like, "Am I the only one who noticed that this is 3 kids?" And every time he said, "Oh, it's 3 kids stacked on each other wearing a trench coat," everyone would be like so oblivious. Like, "Oh, you just don't. Why are you so jealous of it?" A hilarious gag. I absolutely loved it. And that's probably my favorite gag of the entire show, and the way he'd go around going, "Hello, adults. I just came back from the business factory doing adult things." Bojack. Amazing. Oh, really? Dina says there's no theaters in the remote area I live in. You must live in a very remote area. I thought there were theaters everywhere. Oh, wow. That's crazy. Anyway, So yes, the latest season of Bojack Horseman just came out, and it was good. It was season 5, so I'm not going to do any spoilers if you haven't seen the new season or if you haven't seen the show. I liked it better than the last season, but I get a sense that the show is in danger of becoming repetitive. That I think it shouldn't end. It shouldn't. If they can't find a way to reinvigorate it, they should probably end it soon. Like I said, I don't think this season was not. It was good. It didn't feel tired or repetitive, but I felt like that danger that they're kind of running out of story. I get that feeling. And the thing is that I say it's better than last season, but I didn't think last season was that great either. I think both of these seasons are like, I just recently went and rewatched season 1 and season 2. I was thinking about possibly doing a video review for the whole show, but who has time for that? I don't have time for that. So I went back and watched the first 2 seasons, and those are hilarious. And I think these later seasons aren't quite as good. I can definitely see a drop off with that. Now, the thing about Bojack Horseman I want to talk about, which is a very interesting study for me personally, because it's the only show, it's the one show, like out of all the shows, like I always talk about shows like Star Trek where I disagree with people, like Voyager in particular. People love the Dark Frontier, and some people even like In-Game. Don't get me started on that. So there's a lot of times there will be episodes that people absolutely love that I think aren't good. Like that happens with a lot of shows. I think probably the biggest example of that is Breaking Bad with the episode The Fly, which I think is the worst episode of the show, and a lot of people would put it in their top 5 best of the show. And so to have that contrast really throws me off. I mean, I did a video and I said it was the worst episode of the entire show. A lot of people got a lot of pushback from that, but then a lot of people agreed with me. So it was a very polarizing episode. It's very weird. And it's funny because when my brother, African Tomko, when he was watching Breaking Bad for the first time, I had already seen it. And I told him, like, he saw my video, or he knew there was an episode coming up in season 3 that sucked, that I absolutely hated. And he recognized it as soon as he saw it. It's like, this is the episode Mark's talking about, because he felt the same way. He felt that episode was horrible. And I don't understand. Some people love it. I just think they acted so much out of character. A lot of people thought it was a good character episode, but how can it be a good character episode if they're acting out of character? That's not how he behaves. But anyway, I don't want to get too much into that. Point is, Bojack Horseman is an interesting study because it's the only show where if I go on IMDb and they have the top 3 highest rated episodes, like this is the fans, it's not one critic sitting by, it's like a collective, like, IMDb works with collective fan, you do your fan ratings and they put up the highest rating ones with the best averages. So the top 3 episodes of Bojack Horseman are my bottom 3. So it's the only show where it's like where everyone, the most popular people think they're the best episodes. I think they're the worst. I hated them. I thought they were pretentious garbage. Pretentious is the word I used to describe them. They weren't funny. They weren't interesting. They were trying to be all artsy. All right. And for those who have seen the show and want to know which episodes I'm talking about the underwater one. I cannot fucking stand that episode. I actually turned it off halfway through. It was grating on my nerves. And people love it. Like my friends, like I had a friend who would, like, when I mentioned I didn't like it, he was like, fuck you for not liking it. I'm like, but it's pretentious, but I didn't want to get into it with him. And then there's this episode was kind of like a flashback to his mother, and it showed the life of his mother or whatever. That episode was so boring. I couldn't stand it. People love it for some reason. It was annoying. I didn't like it. And then there's this other one where he goes to New Orleans or something and meets this fly guy, whatever. I thought, oh my God, what a shitty episode. And it's in the top 3. People rate it. I don't know. So Bojack, out of all the shows, even though I disagree with like The Fly with Breaking Bad or like Dark Frontier with Voyager or other episodes of some people that I think are horrible, like Tuvix. Oh, that get us started on Tuvix. Like with certain shows, there's like episodes here and there that are well liked that I don't think are good. But BoJack is the only case where it's like all the top episodes are, I think, the worst. It's like the exact invert reverse. And that is so weird. So why I liked this new season of BoJack is because there was no episode like that. I was waiting for there to be, okay, they're going to do a pretentious head up their ass episode that everyone's going to love that I think is total shit. And they didn't do one, so I appreciated that. I appreciated that they didn't have one of those this year. Anyway, let's see what's going on in the chat. Gabriel McKnight, says BoJack Horseman is up and down show. Still like it. Yeah, I can kind of get that. Colonel Doomsday says in game, bah. Some people are easily impressed. Say the least. Colonel Doomsday, let's see. Well, Colonel Doomsday says another one of Mark's pet peeves is artsy stuff. Not necessarily. Wannabe artsy stuff is how I would put it. I actually, some stuff that is artsy I like, but there's a lot of like a lot of my favorite like movies and episodes I think are very artistic and they would be classified as artsy because they make it work. When they try to be all artsy and it doesn't work, it just comes off as totally pretentious to me, and I don't like it. One of the biggest, like the thing that just flooded into my mind, which I think is the biggest example of this, is this movie. I think it came out in 2014 with Scarlett Johansson. It wasn't like a big blockbuster movie. It was like a British movie called Under the Skin. And so I know some critics who still rave about that movie and put it up as one of the best movies ever of all time, and they love it. And for me, like, I think objectively speaking, it is a badly made film. I saw it like just after I went to film school, and just thinking in terms of how, like, everything I learned at film school of how to construct a movie visually and storytelling wise, it came off as a bad student film to me. Like, and I did a video once where I deconstructed a particular scene where it shows that it was poorly made, and yet the critics love it. And for me, that was a prime example of the filmmakers trying to be all artsy instead of just telling a simple story. And it just came off as the director had his head up his ass. It was totally pretentious nonsense, and it was poorly made. And I said in my review before, it was like while I was watching this movie, to me it felt like the filmmaker was sitting there right next to me, screaming in my ear the whole time I was watching this movie, screaming, "Look at how artsy I am! Aren't I artsy? Aren't you impressed about how artsy I am? I'm so artsy. I'm so artsy." That's what it felt like to watch that film. I hate that movie. It's called Under the Skin. Anyway, let's see. Flobo23, hi ho, greetings from the gold old Germany. We'll be playing MTG Arena, but listening. Phil hugged. Okay, I feel hugged. Thank you so much for listening in from jolly old Germany. Must be really late over there. Must be in the middle of the night, actually. But anyway, Dina says, I didn't like the Fly episode the first time I saw it either, but I've watched every episode at least a dozen times since, and it's changed my mind. I have given that episode a chance. I have watched it several times and tried to be open-minded, but I ended up hating it more. Because when I sit down to analyze it, I actually, like, as one of my favorite YouTubers, Lore Runner, will often say, go into analysis mode, where rather than just watching an episode for entertainment, you sit there and analyze. It's something I would do at university or whatever. We had to analyze pieces of media and how they were constructed and how they work. So when I did that with The Fly, I actually hated it more because I could see how out of character these characters were being. But anyway, let's see. Gabriel McKnight, I'm curious, have you seen The Predator? Well, McKnight, I'm curious that you haven't seen the first part of this stream. Unless you're being sarcastic, or maybe you just missed the stream. I know some people joined late. So you can, once the stream's over, you can go back and watch the first part of the stream. I get all into the Predator. Anyway, cool. So Flobo says, do you have by any chance connections to James Rolfe? Just thinking my second favorite internet personality, celebrity. I am not a celebrity. No, I don't. I don't know who that is. Sorry. But yeah, it's so weird because I got a comment once that someone was like being a dick to me. And they're like, well, you're a public figure, so you have to get used to people being like this. I'm not a fucking public figure. I'm just some guy who sits in my bedroom and yaks about shows I like on YouTube. I'm not a public figure. Whatever. Anyway, what else? Do you have, by any chance, oh yeah, I already read that. What else have we got here? That is weird. Gabriel McKnight saying Under the Skin was a good movie. All right, well, now I've gone and offended someone already. Yeah, to each your own, but I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. That is not a good movie. Objectively, not just my opinion. I think objectively speaking, that is a poorly made film. But anyway, I already got into that. Let's see. Cardinal Doomsday, you're a public figure. I didn't know that. Yeah, I didn't know that either. Interesting the things you learn on the internet. Anyway, let's take a break from the reviews and let's actually get into some of these random discussions. My video title promises random things, so let's be all random. Hold on. Let me consult my notes here. All right. So, all right, since we're on the topic of YouTube channels, I want to talk to you guys about some YouTube channels I like. Now, typically, I don't like mentioning other YouTube channels because I don't want to start a thing with some other channels. Like one of the ones I'm about to mention, they love starting things with other channels, which I don't like to. So, I mean, I've done videos before. Like I went back and watched some of my Game of Thrones videos where I wouldn't mention the video, but of the YouTube channel, but I would reference the video. And going back, and I think I maybe referenced the video too heavily because people would get the impression that I was bashing that channel or was bashing that video, and I was just being mysterious about the video itself. But I wasn't really. I was just talking about the topic overall, and that opinion that I've seen like all over the internet. But I just was using that one video as a specific example to highlight that opinion. Now I'm being vague again. But I wasn't meaning to sort of bash that video in particular or that channel in particular, which is, I don't know. I think a lot of people maybe thought I was being too rude. Well, not to be vague, the channel I'm talking about was Alt-Shift-X, which is actually one of my favorite Game of Thrones channels. I actually preferred it to Preston Jacobs in terms of theory making. But every once in a while, he'd make a video which I very strongly disagreed with. So I'd go and make my own sort of retort to that, but it wasn't meant to be a direct response to that video. It was just inspired by that video, but it's just that opinion that he was saying I saw all over the internet. So I was just using that one video of his as an example. I wasn't offended by his particular video. It didn't make me angry. It was just, it cited up, got my synapses flowing, got me thinking, well, maybe what are the counters to some of this? And again, it had to do with the overall like opinion that I've seen on the net, not his video in particular, because I actually do really like his channel. And that's why I didn't mention his channel by name, because I didn't want people to think that I was bashing his channel in any way. But unfortunately, I think people could figure out who I was talking about, and so they assumed I was bashing him anyway. So I think if I had to go back and do it again, I would not reference his videos as much as I did, because I didn't want people to think. I think people did think I was. One person said I was even being rude to him, which I totally did not intend to do, because I had nothing but good things about this channel, And here's the thing, And I guess this is sort of cross-pollinating to the discussion I want to do about fanboyism. But here's the thing. A lot of my favorite YouTube channels, I disagree with their opinion a lot. And there's nothing wrong with that. I still love them. I love hearing them talk. I love hearing their thoughts on things. I just like the way that they construct their analysis, and the stuff they have to say gives me more insight. Doesn't mean I agree with them all the time. And that's the thing with the fanboys, that some people come in and attack me simply because they disagree with me, and they think I hate whatever I'm reviewing simply because they disagree with me. And I think that's a bit sad sign of society, that people they don't know how to disagree with each other in a civil way anymore. And just because someone disagrees with you, you have to attack them, which is I just can't say enough bad things about that mindset, and it just blows my mind. It's very, very immature and very underdeveloped. That just because someone like disagrees with, like, for example, I'll give you an example recently with Babylon 5. So I went and I did this video, worst episodes of Babylon 5, and I got this angry comment just simply because I made a worst video. Now, I tried to preempt this because whenever I do any worst episodes, I always get the fanboys attacking me. So I tried to preempt this by saying, look, I love Babylon 5. It was in my top 20 favorite shows of all time. It was number 16. Absolutely loved it. And if you watch my review of season 4, you'll see me just gushing and foaming at the mouth with how awesome I thought season 4 was and how amazing I thought the show is. But it doesn't mean everything about it is perfect. There are some things that don't work. Okay, now I'm getting more into my discussion of fanboyism than this YouTube channel. So maybe I'll just get all into that and get into YouTube channels later. But anyway, so with the Babylon 5, I said I love it, but just because something is good doesn't mean everything about it is amazing. Everything has negative parts, everything has bad parts, and everyone has different opinions on what those negative things are. So by me pointing out the negative about Babylon 5 doesn't mean I hate the show. I still love the show. I just recognize it has some negative aspects to it. And what I think are negative aspects, you might think are great aspects to it. But no, this wasn't good enough for this particular fanboy. And the fact that it was number 16 on my best shows of all time, that's not good enough for this fanboy, because it should have been in my top 3, according to this person. So because it wasn't in my top 3, because and he said it was way, way better than all the Star Trek shows. So because I said like Deep Space Nine and Voyager were better than it, then I'm an asshole. I can't remember. He called me like a fuckwit or something. And I know it's the internet. And I know a lot of people, when I complain about comments like that, people be like, well, that's the internet. I know it's the internet. I get tons of comments. Believe me, you have no idea, because I delete them, how many comments like this I get. I know it doesn't affect me. I know to turn it off. And it's not that this particular comment hurt me or insulted me personally, because again, I've developed a pretty thick skin because I've gotten tons of comments like this. You have no idea. But I know it's the internet. But what it angers me about it isn't so much of how it is insulting me personally or that one side. It's the indication of the larger issue. And it's not just with my channels, with any YouTube channel, or how people interact with media nowadays, and like the topic of fandom and how it's becoming toxic or whatever, and how some people just can't take any sort of criticism on something they love whatsoever. And so I don't care. Let me make myself clear. I don't give a single solitary fuck about this one dickhead who commented on my Babylon 5 video. I just delete this post and move on with my day. I don't give a shit about him. It has to do with the overall issue on how society and how the fan base are dealing with it, and how it's not just this one fuckhead. It's the overall issue of people who can't tolerate anything negative being said about it. I mean, particularly with Babylon 5, because Being in my top 20 is not good enough for him. Being number 16 is not good enough for him. I have to love it. I have to say it's better than Star Trek. Otherwise, I'm a fuckwit. What kind of fucking narrow-minded dickhead has a view like that? And again, it's not just about this one fuckwit. It's about this overall trend. And because, all right, there's some people out there who hate Babylon. Like I've seen this one video saying, fuck Babylon 5. That show sucks. This is one of the worst shows I've ever seen. And this person in particular only saw like the first half of season 1, which I kind of had that impression after seeing the first half of season 1 as well. You have to see more of the show before you make a judgment call like that. So I disagreed with that video, but I'm not going to go in and call him a fuckwit for saying that. I'm going to say I disagree with you, and maybe if you put more thought into it, if you watch it, maybe you'll have a different opinion, maybe not. And if you don't, if you still say Babylon 5 is a piece of shit, I'll be like, that's your opinion, man. You go ahead and you say that. I'm not going to go on and call you a fuckwit because of it. Now, and the thing is, was really interesting for me is because it's weird that I'm a fuckwit just because it was my number 16 and because I like Star Trek better. What about this other guy who hates it, who says it's a total piece of shit? I wonder if he hates that other guy just as much as he hates me, or that guy's an even bigger fuckwit, but in this narrow-minded perspective. But anyway, let me see what the chat is saying. Okay. Stupid mouth not working properly. Let's see. Carl News says, I love Alt Shift X at Patreon. Yeah, he's pretty good. I've gotten a bit tired of some of his recent videos, but it's still good. I still like him. Flowers says, by the way, lost my first round. Dina says the normies are overrated. Yeah, I tried watching some of the normies. Didn't really get into them that much. I mean, they more do reaction videos, which isn't really my thing. So that's just my personal preference there. Oh, yes, Cardinal Doomsday, I am rude. Yeah, I started off talking about my favorite YouTube channels, but then I kind of got derailed and I didn't talk about that. I ended up talking about fanboyism instead. So I kind of switched topics there. Dina says, I mainly use your channel or Nordrotic. Yeah. And Carl, well, yeah, thanks for watching my panel. And Carl Doom says, was he an Australian? Fuckwit is an Aussie term. Maybe he didn't say fuckwit. I might be paraphrasing, but I don't think fuckwit is unique to Aussies. I think the Brits use it as well. Anyone British watching want to tell me in the chat in the comment if you think that, because I'm pretty sure they use it here, but then again, New Zealand terminology is very similar to Aussie. Let's see. Carl Doomsday, if you have a different opinion than the majority, you're automatically a pariah. It does seem that way a lot. It does seem that way. Let's see. And Gabriel McKnight, I watched Babylon 5 as a kid, only reason because it came on before Deep Space Nine. Let's see. Flobo says, TED Talk's your thing? Nope. Not my thing. Not in the least. Never got into them. And me personally. Okay. I don't know if I had more to say about the topic of fanboyism, but it's interesting because it's an interesting contrast between, like, if you see True Expertise, they did a video about toxic fandom, which was a kind of, I mean, it's kind of similar, but it's kind of like the other extreme, because a toxic fandom mainly deals with fans who are upset about something, who don't like something. Like, for example, they hate The Last Jedi, so they go and what's her face, the actress who played Rose, and go to her Twitter and they send her death threats and Instagram, whatever, so she has to quit Instagram and Twitter because she's receiving all these racial slurs and death threats. That's toxic fandom. That's fucked up. You know, Last Jedi, it's funny. It's become, and actually, I'll go ahead and talk about The Last Jedi. Why not? Because it's become like, when I first did the review for it, I was just being like friendly. I just considered it was just like another movie. We have disagreement. Some people didn't like it. Some people didn't. I stated why I disagreed with those who didn't like it. And I stated why I liked it. And I said, that's your opinion. And if you face it now. But it's become something very different. Like, it's just become so, like, those who don't like it just become so incredibly toxic and just dripping with hate. And they have so much, hatred for it. And I mean, I can kind of see where they're coming from, because I kind of feel that way with season 7 of Game of Thrones, but really not even to that degree. Not to that degree. I don't think there's anything I hate with that much vigor. The way that some of these people hate The Last Jedi. And so it's become a topic where I just want to avoid. I don't even want to talk about it anymore, because it seems like the opportunity for like reasonable discourse and to air out disagreements, which is what I was doing when it first came out, is not really there anymore. And like, just the whole thing of like them scaring off an actress because she played a role they didn't like in a movie that they didn't like, and sending her death threats, I can't even begin. And then some other YouTubers like trying to make excuses for it and trying to like insult her for leaving. And that just enrages me. It enrages me to no belief. There's just no fucking excuse for that. And they were sending like critics death threats for not liking The Dark Knight Rises. Like, some critics said The Dark Knight Rises sucked, so they'd send them death threats. That's just crazy. But that's like the toxic fan base. That's like they hate something so much. Although I suppose in that case, that's more of what I'm talking about here. That if you love something, like with The Dark Knight Rises, you love something, if anyone says anything negative about it, then you have to go into full-on attack mode. And that's not a way. I just hope that as a society we can move beyond that. And here's a huge difference. I'm talking about like YouTube channels. Again, I'm not going to bring up any specific names of channels that I don't like. Although I kind of hate that, because then people will make assumptions and will assume I'm talking about a channel I'm not actually talking about. But let's just say this channel is awesome in an emergency. Anyway, channels like that and some of the other more like really, really like billion subscriber, couple million, 300, hundreds of millions of subscriber channels like that, they're not about... They're just fanboys, right? They're not about giving any constructive criticism, which I don't know and it's because of me. It's because I went to university and I studied criticism. I studied to become a critic. I would call myself one, though. I just go on YouTube and blather. But I'm more of that perspective from that line of sort of analyzing something and seeing what works, what doesn't work, and stuff like that. Whereas it seems like a lot of people prefer the YouTube channels that just go in and say, everything's awesome, this is great, this is awesome, this is great, this is great, this is awesome, this is great, look at that, that's so great. Season 7 of Game of Thrones, this is great, it's great, it's great, it's great. And that's what they want. And I kind of think that's kind of vanilla background garbage, really. I mean, that's not what I want. Maybe some people enjoy that, but I don't want to just go and have a huge fandom orgy about how awesome something is. I want to discuss it. I want to analyze it. I want to get into the intricacies. And it seems like some people just can't handle that. And that's why I've gotten a lot of pushback whenever I'm negative about something. And this is funny. I want to get into Voyager in particular, because it's not just me. It's this other channel that I like, that I watch a lot. I'll call the Lore Runner. He also mentioned the same thing. I think there was another channel as well, the Anti-Trekker. Well, now that maybe that's a different case with them. But anyway, with Lore Runner, like, he was talking about how he constantly gets told that he hates Voyager. And that's funny because I get told the same thing. There's one video in particular that's like, I can't even remember. I made it years ago. It's like a time travel video, but it blew up on YouTube. It got a lot of views. So the more views a video gets, the more toxic comments it gets, which I've gotten used to. I don't care. But with that video, I've gotten so many people who go on that video and be like, well, your video is bullshit. It can't be taken seriously because you obviously hate Voyager, and anyone who hates Voyager shouldn't be listened to. And I was just like, there's so many things wrong. And it's not just one comment, mind you, that's saying there's several comments. And it's mainly on that time travel video, but I got a lot of people telling me I hate Voyager. And it's funny because I did my discussion with Wes last week. And it's obvious from, like, we briefly touched on Voyager, but I kind of get the impression from what we talked about that I like Voyager a lot better than he does. And if I talk to my brother, African Tomko, he'll say outright that I like Voyager a lot more than he does. And when I did my discussion with him and Phil the Issues guy, we talked about the Star Trek thing. He didn't even really like Voyager. He was like, I gave up on Voyager, but the episodes you gave me to watch are actually good, so I appreciate you getting. So he didn't even like Voyager. So point is, I've said Voyager, getting back to my top 20, it was in my top 10. I call it my 9th favorite science fiction show of all time. I gave it a 9 out of 10. And I constantly talk about the positives of Voyager. I have so many videos. Like, I just recorded one, which won't be released till next month because I'm doing that recording in advance thing, which is weird. Where about the episode The Raven, which is an episode of Voyager, and I'm just gushing the whole time. I'm like, this is amazing. The acting is amazing. The storytelling is amazing. The cinematography is amazing. This is beautiful. And I have so many, like I talked about Year of Hell, so many videos about Voyager where I just gush about how awesome it is. And yet just because I say something negative, someone has to come on and tell me I hate Voyager. And it's not just that. Like, when I did my, getting back to the worst thing, when I did my worst episode thing in Voyager, I had someone come on and just throw insults at me. I don't even know why. I was actually really curious as to why they were insulted. What did I say in particular that they felt that hurt them so much they felt they just needed to throw a bunch of insults at me? Because this person in particular was always actually really nice to me before and said they loved my videos, but since they saw this, all of a sudden they just started hurling insults at me. I'm like, what is it? But they wouldn't say. I'm still curious. But it's interesting that just because somebody doesn't like a video or an episode that you don't, or you do, you feel the need. I would never understand that, because all right, so I'm going to tie this to some of my favorite YouTubers. I already mentioned Laura Runner. He's one of my favorite YouTubers. He does video game stuff, but I'm not a gamer, so I don't watch that. But he does. He went through Star Trek, so he goes through every episode of Voyager, and he went through every episode of Babylon 5, and he's now working his way through Next Generation Deep Space Nine. He does one a week from each Next Generation Deep Space Nine, where he does what he calls ruminations. He'll do it's like a half hour to an hour long video typically, where he's very analytical. He'll just sit there and analyze parts of the episode, and I love his channel. I watch it every single week. I make sure, like, as soon as he uploads the videos, I go there and I watch them because I think they're fascinating. I love listening to him talk, but I disagree with him on a lot of things. For example, he loves Tuvix. When he did his best episodes of Voyager, he put Tuvix and Dark Frontier. I think Dark Frontier was his #1, or maybe it was tied for #1. So he thinks Dark Frontier was the best episode of Voyager. I think it's one of the worst episodes of Voyager. And when I did a review for that, I was shouting and screaming. And I even talked about that recently, how much I hate that episode. So we violently disagree. Like, our disagreements could not be further apart. But I'm not going to hurl insults at him. And, like, there's some episodes I love, like this Deep Space Nine episode called Whispers. Recently, he did a video where he said he didn't like it at all. He thought it was a bad episode. It's one of my favorite Deep Space Nine episodes. I'm not going to go there and hurl insults at him because he didn't like it. I don't I know you can say, well, that's the internet for you. But really, I mean, I just don't understand that mindset. I know that, because here's the thing. This is why I don't like that, oh, that's the internet for you. Because I think there's a difference between trolls who just go in and hurl insults just to get a reaction, just to go, and you can kind of tell the difference, because believe you me, I get tons of those. I get tons of those, and I can tell they're just going, insult you so get a response. But I think there's a difference. There's a noticeable difference between those who just say shit just to spark you up and those who actually believe, who actually, you could picture them behind that computer going, who actually get angry, who actually mean the insults that they're hurling. And so that's why I don't like the, oh, that's the internet for you excuse about it, because it's not the internet for you. It's a sign of how our society reacts to different opinions, to fandom. Anyway, I'm kind of babbling about this. Let's see what the chat is saying. Let me get back into the chat. All right. Okay, Carmen Dunze says, I saw Dave Collins' review on the first 2 episodes of Star Trek Discovery earlier. Man, he really hates it, and let's sprinkle the word SJW everywhere. I'm going to have to get into that. I'm going to have to. I've been avoiding this topic, but I'm going to have to get into it. I don't get what's wrong to fight for social justice, Flobo says. Yes, with a smiley face. And Carmen Dunze, if you're a critic, you're not getting paid enough. Yeah, damn, that's for damn sure. It's not an orgy, Mark. It's mutual masturbation. Just my opinion. Yeah, I guess. Flubber says you hate Voyager. And kind of, I never got the impression that you hate Voyager, Mark. I don't think Wes likes it very much. Yeah. Yeah, I got the impression from talking with him that I liked Voyager more than he did, which, again, nothing wrong. Everyone has their opinions, but it's just interesting to me that I have such a higher opinion of Voyager than most other people I know, and yet I'm told constantly that I hate it. And there's something wrong with that picture. But anyway, where are we at? Okay, the Dave Collins show. All right, I try not to call YouTube channels out by name, but I'm not going to say anything negative about this channel. But unless you can say, I don't know. But what I will say is that if there was like the mirror universe version of me who had every single opinion was the exact opposite of me, like you take all my opinions on Star Trek, on movies, on TV shows, and you just mirror that. You just blast it to the exact opposite. That's Dave Cullen. I don't know why, and I keep clicking on his videos. And again, nothing against the guy personally. I'm not bashing him or his channel. He, a lot of people agree with him. He's totally entitled to his opinions, and a lot of people like hearing about it. More power to him. Keep doing what you're doing. Good stuff. But whenever I watch it, I just like disagree with everything that comes out of his mouth. Like, I think pretty much the exact opposite. And I keep clicking on his videos. I don't know why I keep doing it, because I know that I'm going, like he did a video recently the other day. And whenever I see that little, that little cartoon drawing of it, the ginger beard and the ginger head sitting there with the thoughtful look, I'm like, I don't know why I always get the urge to click on that, and I do. And it was like, and exact what happens, what I think is going to happen, happens. I disagree with every single thing he says. I don't know why I keep doing it. But again, not bashing him, nothing against him. He can keep doing what he's doing. And if you happen to like his channel and like what he says, again, more power to you. That's your opinion. And if you find someone who has an opinion you agree with, great. But me personally, like the only time that he said something. I wouldn't say I agreed with him, but I was kind of in agreement with him, was when he did a video on Stargate Universe. Because when I saw that little icon of Stargate Universe, I was like, all right, here we go. He's going to say it sucks. It's a piece of shit. If you know me, I love Stargate Universe. It's one of my favorite shows of all time. I think it was very, bar none, very clearly the best Stargate show. But so many of the Stargate fanboys hate it. Anyway, so I went and clicked on this video assuming that he was going to hate it, but he actually liked it. So I was surprised. So that's actually the one area that we actually agreed on. But pretty much, I think that's the only video. But of course, he was saying that the second season is better than the first season, which is what most people say, but I disagree. I think the first season was better than the second. Anyway. I was kind of hoping for more feedback here. I guess that's what I get for not doing an announcement video. Let's say what Critch is saying. Does having Captain Janeway toilet liner make me a bad man? No. No, it doesn't. Dina says, I can't stand it when people can't handle criticism. I love The Expanse, but it doesn't mean I've been happy with every episode or storyline. I feel the same way, Dina. I feel the same way. I feel like I got a lot of, maybe not hate, but a lot of drop-off when I was complaining about the finale of The Expanse, the season 3 finale, which I did like. In fact, yeah, I liked it, but I was a lot more critical about it. I wasn't just heaping praise all over it because, frankly, and I know a lot of people, especially people who haven't read the books, hate hearing this phrase, but the books did better, and I can't help but have that perspective that what they did in the season 3 finale was a very rushed, jumbled version of my favorite. You got to understand, it was my favorite book in a book series that I love. It was my favorite book, and it was the favorite part of the book was about the rebellion, the Civil War. That was my favorite part of the entire Expanse franchise, and they rushed through it. So of course I'm not going to be happy about it, and of course I'm going to say I'm not. I'm not going to pretend that I like it when I don't. But a lot of people can't handle. Oh my God, he's saying something negative about the Expanse. Let's stop watching it. Ever, you know, if you want to do that, that's fine. But I'm saying, me personally, now, like, when I get to something like Lore Runner and Wes, like, I disagree. Did my video discussion with Wes last week. We disagreed heavily on. But I love this. I love hearing what he has to say. I love hearing his thoughts. So just because you disagree with someone, and that's why every once in a while, and to be fair, every once in a while I'll get a comment saying, I really disagree with half the stuff you say, but I love listening to you talk. And those are my favorite comments. I always heart those comments when I get comments like, I disagree out of your mouth, but I love listening to what you have to say. Because that is true. Now, the whole thing with Dave Cullen. I don't like watching his videos because I disagree too much. But again, that being said, I'm not going to hurl a bunch of insults on him just because we have different opinions. I'm going to be like, that's you. You do you. Perfectly fine. It's just, I don't know, it's just childish. Anyway, Marilyn Bentley, hello. How are you? How's it going since I... Yes, you are late. What's up, Marilyn? Is there anything you want me to talk about? Because it's been a while since you've been on my channel. If there's anything in particular you want, any questions you want to ask me, anything you want me to talk about, just let me know. I'll try to oblige. So what else is going on in the chat? All right. Okay, so Colonel Doomsday mentioned the whole SJW thing earlier, and I guess I got to touch on that. I kind of don't want to, but whatever. So turns me off. It turns me off when I hear that phrase thrown around. I think it's a crutch. Now, there are definitely cases where, you know, people can take politically correctness too far. Definitely. And there's a lot of like fake outrage and stuff that does irritate me. Like, and I go by this on a case-by-case basis. Like with Iron Fist, for example, the whitewashing controversy with making Iron Fist a white character, I think is ridiculous. I think, like, even most Asians would agree, it's like the character was always written as a white character. I mean, that's the whole point of his character. He's supposed to be a fish out of water, and people bring up stuff, oh, it's supposed to be the white savior, the white messiah, it's just whitewashing, blah, 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 blah. I think that's a load of shit. And this is actually a topic that I have studied at university, at the way that the media handles race and gender. And don't get me wrong, there definitely are cases where there is whitewashing, where they do push like this white savior agenda, particularly in older media. It's very obvious. But you have this thing called a brain, and you have to use it to differentiate itself, to differentiate what is actually doing that and what isn't. I don't know. Again, some people have different opinions of what is and isn't doing that, but you should at least put some thought into it rather than. And there is like a mode, like people will just go into attack mode to attack something immediately, without even actually thinking, is this actually doing what I think it's doing, which is something I'm against with. So I can kind of understand the urge to throw this SJW term around, because I think there is definitely, a case where people will take the social justice or whatever too far. But I think it's become a lazy crutch to just toss around this catchphrase that's really hot now, and I'll probably lose it because I'm bashing it or whatever. But it's just, it loses nuance, and a lot of times it's very much misused. I hear the term used a lot in terms of Star Wars, and I don't really have a strong opinion when it comes to Star Wars. Like, I would disagree with it, but I'm not too hung up on it. Like, I don't really care. But with Star Trek Discovery in particular, it really pisses me off. Like, it really, really, when people throw around the term SJW. I heard someone with Star Trek Discovery has Star Trek diversity to try to insult it. They're trying to be all diverse. They're talking about a franchise that was founded on a show that was known, inspired, and lauded, and peered and cheered for its fucking diversity. So to call something Star Trek diversity, that's nonsense. That makes sense. Of course it's diverse. Star Trek has always been diverse. That's I have ever heard, ever. And I've gotten a few comments on my channel I had to delete of people being like, oh, they're including a black woman, blah, blah, blah. And this may be so Gene Roddenberry's vision for Star Trek. That is his vision for Star Trek. What the heck is wrong with people? Like, the whole freaking franchise was founded on a show that was lauded for having a black woman on the bridge, Asian at the bridge, a fucking, Scottish man, Russian, whatever. That was the whole fucking point of Star Trek. It blows my mind. Now, I do realize, and I have heard their nuanced argument, that there's a difference between what Discovery's doing and what, like, the original series did, or what Next Generation did, or even what Voyager Deep Space Nine did. And the difference is Discovery is sort of making it so all the white men are assholes, and all the people of color and, like, different orientation, sexual orientation, or whatever, they're all the hero white men are assholes. Now, I mean, I guess one that way, but I still, even by throwing the SJ or calling it diversity, throwing the SJW term around is very. Now, is Discovery perfect? No, the Discovery has a lot of faults, and that will probably move on to my next topic talked about. But anyway, but what I was saying about Star Trek Discovery Season 2, or the Season 2 trailer, is that it doesn't look particularly good to me. Like, I'm not the biggest Discovery fan. I think some people think that I'm a Discovery apologist, which I'm not. I hate certain arguments about Discovery, like the fact that it shits all over canon, because especially when I go back and watch Voyager, like, come on. Voyager shits all over canon a fuck ton worse than anything Discovery did. But I do get the argument that it's a prequel and why we're getting a prequel, and they should have set it in a different time frame. I completely agree with that 100%. I also agree 100% the Klingons look awful. They look like demons. A lot of people call them Klingorks. Totally agree with that. That makeup change, like, it actually irritates me when Trex Patisse tries to make an excuse. Oh, of course it's a makeup change, blah, blah, blah. Now, there's a huge difference between the makeup change they did between between Next Gen and the original series Next Gen, or the original series movies, like that, because at that point in time the Klingons weren't like as established. The Klingon look wasn't as iconic as it's become, like, because the 90s, Next Generation, Voyager, all that really solidified Deep Space Nine, really solidified that Klingon culture, the Klingon look. So to completely and totally redo it now is absolute horseshit, and there's no comparison. But so I agree with that. But as far as Discovery violating canon, that's nonsense. Yeah, the Klingorks. Yeah. So, but the one thing I will say, I'm not like, I don't think Discovery sucks, but I think there's a lot of issues with the first season. And I'm not particularly, the trailers for the second season don't make me particularly happy. And I think this cut out when I was going on about this whole thing between Deep Space Nine and Discovery, and how Deep Space Nine was it's the exact same thing. Like, a lot of people say, oh, Discovery's not Star Trek. Nothing in Star Trek has been like Discovery, which is not true. Deep Space Nine had a war. Deep Space Nine was dark. Deep Space Nine was, I think you guys heard me talk about this. You must have heard me talk about this. Anyway, sort of retreading this. But the season 2 trailer, yeah, it doesn't look good to me. I'm sorry, I'm not excited for Discovery. Like, when it comes out, like, a lot of people love doing these like updates. Oh, we heard that Spock's going to be Discovery. Oh, we heard that Pike is going to be in Discovery, and I'm just not interested because I'm not that excited about season 2 of Discovery. I'm not going to prejudge it. I'm going to watch it, and if it's good, if I like it, then it's good. But I don't have high hopes for it. I think it could be sort of the same sort of thing, where it's going to it's kind of going to be like season 2 of Deep Space Nine, where you're going to try too hard to turn it around and be all happy and chipper, and it's still not going to work, and it's not going to find its footing until season 3. If it stays true to the Star Trek format, then that would probably be the case. But we'll see. I'll still keep an open mind. I'll give it a go. But I'm probably more interested in this Picard show. Anyway, Marilyn Bentley says, I've never seen anything Star Trek. I'm not kidding. I know what the language is called. That's it. Oh, wow. Yeah. Star Trek is a hard one to get into, Marilyn. That's for sure. All right. So let's talk about Sharp Objects now. So Sharp Objects is a show, HBO, what they call miniseries. It's 8 episodes, so I don't really consider that a mini series. I consider that a full series, although it's not intended to go beyond season 1, and I think it would be really crappy if it did. So it's intended to be a one and done season, so I guess you could call it a mini series in that regard. Anyway, it was on HBO, and it had Amy Adams, who's actually my favorite actress now after watching that show in particular, but I loved her in Arrival. I just think she's a really good actress. And so I've heard so many good things about it. Like, this one YouTube channel in particular was just going on and on about, this is the best show ever on television. The show's amazing. It's putting out great episodes week after week. Like, every episode is pure gold and is the best show, and no show is better. This is one of the best shows ever of all time. And maybe it's a bad thing that I got it so hyped for me, because when something is that overhyped, really there's no place to go but down. But really, I was not impressed with it. I'm sorry. In fact, the way I feel about it is very similar to the way I feel about True Detective Season 1. In fact, I was hearing the same things about True Detective Season 1. Everyone's going on about how it's the best thing ever. And when I saw it, I was like, yeah. Didn't really care for it. But it has amazing acting, just like True Detective Season 1 had amazing acting. Freaking Sharper Objects. Like, that is the one thing I will say about the show. Like, I think it was worth watching it for Amy Adams' performance alone. Her performance alone was really great, really amazing. But I don't know, something. And it's interesting because it's kind of touching on something that's going to be personal for me, which maybe I'll get into. I'll get into it now. So I'm just chucking it out here that I've booked my ticket back to America. I'm moving back to America in March, and that's going to be something I'm really nervous about, really scared about, really excited about. It's going to happen. So 6 months from now, I'm going to move back to America. And so the show kind of touched because it's about someone who's returning to her hometown for the first time after being away for years. So that's something I can relate to. And it is because I have visited there before when I was in New Zealand, and it's very strange being back. It is very weird. But the show in particular, like, her parents were dicks to her, particularly her mother. Like, the show focused a lot on her mother. And I just found that it was even though it had a very great acting, a lot of interesting concepts. And it was mainly about a murder, though. Like, she was a reporter investigating a murder. And I think you have to be into those kind of murder mysteries. I think maybe it might be the same thing with True Detective. Like, there's just a certain style of storytelling when it comes to these murder mystery novels and stuff like this, because it is based off a book that people like, that I just never attached to that kind of genre. It's not really my thing. And so it just came out to me as boring. Like, they dragged the plot out too long. And the thing about the main character's mother is, like, I'll say she's annoying, but a lot of people will be like, well, of course she's annoying. That's the whole point. I get it. I get that was the point of the character. The character was meant to be annoying. But this is something like Laura Renner also talked about. It's just, there's different kinds of annoying, or there's different kinds of I hate this villain. There's the I hate this character, let me see more, like the Golden Cot. It's a great example. Oh, I hate that character. He's so annoying. Give me more. And there's I hate this character. Get them the fuck off my screen. Get off my screen. I can't stand you. Every time you're on the screen, I hate this episode. I hate the show. I don't want to watch the show with you on the screen because you're so fucking annoying. And that was her mother's character. It wasn't, I realized some people, for me anyway, I realized some people might have enjoyed her character and thought she was the good kind of menacing, the good kind of villain, the good kind of annoying. But for me, every time she opened her mouth and was a bitch to Amy Adams, I was just like, oh, shut the fuck up. Get off my screen. And so I think that's why I didn't like the show as much as some others. Well, part of the reason. I think it had a lot of, like, I wouldn't say it's a bad show. I'd probably give it a 6 out of 10, just like I did with True Detective Season 1, because there were some great character members, amazing acting, well-developed characters. They didn't really do much with the story. Actually, I think I'd give it a 5 out of 10 because I just remembered the ending. Oh, my God. I hated the ending. The ending was so cheap and like, let's shock you. And it's just like, I know it's based off a book, but I don't care. I don't give a shit. It's just the way that the show came off with the ending. I hated the ending did drop my opinion of the show overall. That's just me. Anyway. Cardinal Doomsday says, I hate this character, or Vic Fontaine. Yeah, fuck Vic Fontaine. Well, Vic Fontaine isn't meant to be annoying. He just is. So that's kind of a different example. Yes. And Marilyn Bentley says, Mark, I asked one question before the internet took a shit on you. Are you still moving back to the States? If you want to discuss this, of course. Yeah, I just brought this up just very briefly. That is, I've booked my tickets. I'm moving back to America come March. So 6 months from now, it's definitely one-way ticket. I'm going to start by moving to the East Coast and staying with my parents until, because I'm broke, until I save up enough money, and then I'm going to strike out on my own. Maybe move out west and be with Atkins, so you might get some streams with us in the same place. Wow. But that's not going to be for another year. And again, when I move back to America to begin with, I'll be staying with my parents, which is the other side of the country from Atkins, so we won't even be together then. But maybe like down the line, I might strike. And of course, I'll be able to visit him a lot more once I'm back in the States. I haven't been back to visit in like 5 years, I think, or is it 4 years? It's been a while. I used to go back to visit every 2 to 3 years, but I can't. My parents pay for it. I don't pay for it because I can't afford it, and they haven't been able to afford to send me as recently, which is part of the reason why I want to move back there, because they're, realistically, they're getting a bit old, and I feel like it should be closer to the family. So it's probably not going to affect my channel much, really. I mean, it doesn't really make any difference to you guys if I'm in New Zealand or America. I guess the main difference will be that the time difference. It's interesting because if I don't get because at the moment I have a nighttime job, which is why I do these streams during the day, but that works out well because during the day in New Zealand is nighttime in America. But if I'm back in America and I have a nighttime job and I do my streams during the day, then no one will be around. I won't have anyone to do it with. So yeah, we'll see. Maybe I'll try to get a daytime job so I'll have evenings free. We'll see, but it's really scary because my whole life is going to be changed around. But I am going to, of course, try to stick with this channel as much as possible. This is my plans are. Yeah. Colonel D says, okay, fine. The Waxana Troy level of annoying. Yes. There you go. That's a better analogy. Waxana. Actually, the Waxana Troy is pretty damn good analogy. Maryland, but you're in Florida. Okay, wow. What area of the East Coast don't need to name the state? Northeast, mid, or south? I'll name the state, whatever. Maryland. So, because it's hard to say because I can't say north-south because it's right smack in the middle. Although I could say mid-Atlantic. That's sort of a cop-out. In fact, Maryland is known as the border state. That's one of its sort of the border between north and south. But whatever. That's where I'm from. Some people can tell by my accent, which I'm really impressed by. People who can do that. Apparently, I have the Baltimore O, whatever that means. Because Baltimore has a particular accent that we used to make fun of a lot growing up because of Baltimore. Hey, Horn, I'm from Baltimore. That sounded more southern. That was a bad Baltimore accent. It's funny, I'm from the Baltimore area and I can't even do a proper Baltimore accent. What the fuck? But then again, I have been in New Zealand for 15 years. So I'm going to move to America in March, and when we get closer in like February, I'm going to do like a very long stream all about New Zealand. I already got a title picked out. I'm going to call it 15 years in New Zealand, kind of like 70 years of in Tibet. And I'll get all about New Zealand. Australia will be my farewell to New Zealand thing. But anyway, yeah, that's, again, 6 months away, so I got a lot of time to prepare. Let's see. Mark, I moved back to my parents' place often. It makes you feel better. I'll be around during the day now because I just started a new job working from home. Great move for me, and I scored a $35,000 raise. It's pretty good. Pretty good. Yeah, 15 years. It will be 15 years exactly when I move out, because I came in to New Zealand in March 1st of 2004, and I'm leaving to go to America in March 26th of 2019. So that will be 15 years in a couple, not exactly because in a couple days, because I'm not going back on March 1st. I'm going back on March 26th. Like I'm a couple, like 20-day difference, whatever, but pretty much 15 years. Yeah. So, and I think a lot of people underestimate like how different New Zealand, because they are very similar. We talk online and I do my chats. It's funny because sometimes I get comments from people telling me I'm very American. And when I looked up, like they have this YouTube Wikipedia thing and it had me listed on there and they had me under the category of American YouTubers. It's very odd. I know I am like I still have an American accent. I still have a lot of American sort of mannerisms and mentalities and way of speaking and whatnot, but I haven't lived in America for 15 years. So, and I've been back to visit. And when I go back to visit, it does seem very foreign to me. Like the culture it is a lot different than New Zealand, Australian culture than I think a lot of people think. I mean, there's a lot of, I mean, if you go to a place like Japan or, Europe or Italy, like the culture is like vastly different. It smacks you in the face. Like, but with something between like, yeah, countries like New Zealand, America, or like Australia, Canada, or something like that, the similarities seem a lot similar. So people think, oh, there's not much difference, but I think it's a bit more insidious, the differences, and I don't know. I do expect to get into a bit of culture shock when I move back. So it's very weird for me when people call me American or put me as an American YouTuber, since American seems it's like such a foreign place to me now. But I don't know. Gabriel McKnight, why you moved to New Zealand, if I may ask? Okay, well, usually I don't answer that question because it's kind of personal, but I'll answer this one time for this one stream, since you stick with me through all the technical difficulties. I don't like getting it, and when I say I refuse to answer, and a lot of people assume like something. Oh, it's like have their imaginations run wild. It's actually quite simple. I used to be married to a New Zealander, and I moved here because she wanted to be closer to her family, but we separated. We divorced 5 years ago. It's taken me a long time. I stayed in New Zealand after we divorced because I was going to film school and stuff like that. But and I was hoping to get into sort of film career here. That didn't happen. I've been planning to move back to America for like 3 years now. But it doesn't happen because I didn't want to leave my cat behind, but it just gotten to a point where I realized I have to either fork out the money for the cat, which costs like over $2,000 to bring with me. So I don't think that's going to happen. So I just finally decided I had to leave him behind. Hopefully I'll be able to give him I'm going to make sure I give him a good family. If I can't find a good family for him, then I will take him with me. No matter the cost, but we'll see. We'll see. And plus, I think that would be such a traumatic flight. It's like a 24-hour trip from Wellington to Baltimore. Yeah. Including stopovers, of course. The flight itself from New Zealand to California is 12 hours. So that's the long continuous flight. But then you have to get connecting flights. Like I have to get from Wellington to Auckland, and from Auckland to San Francisco, and San Francisco to Baltimore. I did manage to do a more like the most direct way I could go, and it was 24 hours or 23 hours. Sorry. The cheaper way to go would be to go through Australia, which is the wrong direction. So that turns it into like a 30-hour flight. No offense, Colonel Doomsday, but I don't want to go to Sydney or Brisbane because that just makes the flight so much longer. Oh my God. But so I preferred to fork out the extra $50 or whatever to have a more direct route, but it's still 24 hours. Whew. Still, that's long. Man. Okay, so Marilyn Bentley, because I hate flying, not sure why I took this new job because I'll have to fly more than I'd like. But it's mostly from Florida to New York, which is only 2 hours. From Florida to New Zealand, though. Whew. Yeah, that would be much longer. I was going to ask the question as well. Yeah, and so. Oh yes, I was actually all set to move back to America in the year Trump was elected. And as soon as he got elected, I'm like, no, fuck that shit. I'm not moving back there. But then, like, my personal situation got worse. It was come to the point I was like, Trump or no Trump, I need to be close to family. Yes. Let's see. Marilyn Whitley says, "Seeing Tuesday. This is why I don't want to fly to Auckland. All Mark is talking about is going to be what I have to do in January." Yeah. All right, so let me get back into some other crap. Other prepared topics, I should say. What else did I have to prepared? I already talked about sharp objects. A bit overrated. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, but it is. I mean, if you're really into that kind of crime drama, crime novels, maybe you'll like it. There's another show that came out a year before, which was a crime drama that I absolutely loved, which was the Sinner, which I didn't think was going to get a season 2, but apparently it got a season 2, but it hasn't reached New Zealand yet. The season 2 is only airing in America, so if you're in America, you can watch it. I loved season 1. I thought it was amazing. It blew me away. If you want to talk about a good crime drama, it's The Sinner. I'm still skeptical about season 2 because it was kind of crafted as just a one season show, kind of like Stranger Things and The Leftovers were examples where they were crafted as season as just a one season show, but they actually continued and did it in a good way. In fact, they did it better in later seasons, particularly The Leftovers, which actually the second and third season were like way better than the first season. So that was a good example. Bad example would be 13 Reasons Why, which was crafted as a one season show, and then season 2 outright sucked. It was a waste of time. So I have my doubts about The Sinner. I don't know if it will be more like The Leftovers or more like 13 Reasons Why. Just have to see. Anyway, let's talk about the Captain Marvel trailer. Why not? It's funny, like the whole culture of talking about trailers, like so many YouTube channels and so much other stuff right now just loves to like talk about trailers almost more than they like to talk about the fucking movies, which I think is a pretty weird culture. And it kind of annoys me a bit. It's like certain, like especially in the Marvel movies, you get the trailers so much in advance and they give away so much of the story. Like Thor Ragnarok, which I still contend is the best Marvel movie. Sorry, Josh, but it is. It was kind of ruined for me a little bit by the trailers because the trailers gave so much away, and I had seen it like 6 months before I actually saw the movie. So when I went and saw the movie for the first time, it felt like it was a movie I had seen years ago because I had seen parts of it like 6 months ago. So I try not to get into this whole trailer culture thing. And I don't know why, because talking about YouTube channels I like, also really into Screen Junkies because they do the honest trailers and the movie fights. And I'm a huge fan of Screen Junkies. But also, just because I have something on in the background while I work on other stuff, I watch their new show that comes on every day. But sometimes it's just because I like the YouTubers, the interviewers or whatever. I like their interaction. They're very chummy, so I just like to hear them talk. But they often talk about trailers and like news that I don't give a shit about. And I like, for example, the whole thing with the new Joker movie where everyone's obsessing over Joaquin Phoenix and like, oh, here's the first images of Joaquin Phoenix as a Joker. And like, I don't care, and I don't give a shit if Alec Baldwin's going to be in it or not. Like, I just don't like this culture of obsessing over every little detail about a movie year in advance before it actually fucking comes out. Can I just watch the movie and judge it on its own merits? But anyway, let's do a trailer review after that. Let's talk about Captain Marvel, because the thing with Captain Marvel, it's probably the Marvel movie I'm looking forward to the most and ever look forward to the most. I look forward to this more than Avengers 4. I look more forward to this than I did Infinity War and anything else. Most of it has to do with Brie Larson. Because if you know me, if you're familiar with my channel, I talk about, what is it? This movie here, Room. Let me get that. One of my favorite movies of all time. This movie blew me the fuck away. And so ever since that movie, I have been a huge Brie Larson fan because I thought her performance was amazing. So when they said that she's going to be the new Marvel superhero that's kind of being like Superman, like the big superpowered superhero, I'm like, I'm all on board with that shit. So I'm very excited. But unfortunately, this means that if the movie's not that good, then that since my expectations are high, it's not actually a good place to be, because that means it's easier for you to be disappointed. So hopefully that's not the case, but I have high hopes for this movie. And then I see a lot of people, the trailer I thought was good, and maybe it didn't like make me think, oh, my hopes are confirmed, this movie is going to be awesome. I still have my doubts. Like, for example, having like the Ronin, the accuser, and like the Kree and all that, like, I didn't really like that stuff. So the fact that that's what this movie is going to be about is actually, I don't know. But it still looks great. And I just want to see Brie Larson, because she's such a good actress. Like I said, Amy Adams is my favorite actress. So, well, I think Brie Larson, I couldn't say she's my favorite actress, because the only movie I really liked her in was Room. Because the only other movie I think I've seen her in was The Kong Skull Island, which she didn't have much to do in. So it's hard for one person, my friend in particular, said, you can't call her your favorite actress because you only like her in one movie. I'm like, yeah, but she was really good in that one movie. But yeah, and the trailer, I think it looked good. I heard some people saying, oh, it's like being overly critical of the trailer and being like, oh, I don't know, this looks like boring. I'm like, get your head out of your ass. It's just a fucking trailer. Why do we have to pay so much attention to it? Anyway. What is the chat saying? Mark, thanks for telling us your story. Sorry things didn't work out for you. Being close to family is important, especially if your folks are getting up there. Yeah, that's what I agree with that. Well, of course my folks are getting old. Oh, I'm wondering if it was a factor. Okay, yeah, sure. Yeah, that's a factor. And just being close to family. Yeah, trailer breakdowns are bizarre. Who gives a rat's ass? Sorry. Anyway, let me do another review. Yeah, I'm just going to keep going. Okay. So, all right, I want to talk about this movie, this Netflix. Let's get into Netflix originals. Because my brother, Afghan which he wrote a book, and he has a blog now to sort of go along with his novel, try to promote his material and stuff. And I don't know if you checked out his blog. You should check it out. I checked it out, and he had this article about Netflix originals and how they kind of suck. And he mentioned a movie in particular, some sci-fi movie with Forrest Whitaker. I hadn't heard of it at the time, but after I read his blog, I went and saw it on Netflix. I'm like, oh, I'm not going to watch that. And the thing is that every time I watch a Netflix original movie, big distinction from the TV shows, the movies aren't good. Like, the Netflix original movies aren't very good. They typically are bad. And there's one movie in particular that I watched recently, or like a month or two ago, called, came out a year ago though. It's called Small Crimes. It stars Jamie Lannister. What's the actor's name? Nikolai Costa-Waldau. Yeah, so he tries to put on an American accent, and he sounds just like Jamie Lannister to me, except with an American twinge instead of a British twinge. But it still sounds like Jamie Lannister. But he plays this sheriff, and again, a similar theme. So he's been in prison for many years. Everyone thinks he's an asshole. And he gets out of prison, and everyone treats him like shit because they're so pissed off. And he's trying to reform himself. He's trying to be like, I'm doing all these steps. I'm in AA and whatever, and I'm a different man. And he falls back into the same sort of habits and explores like what was the contrast of everyone assuming that he's still an asshole, and that actually makes him still be an asshole, that he was actually a better man when he was in prison, but when he got out and everyone was treating him like shit and saying you're an asshole, that actually made him want to be this asshole more. And I actually found that a very interesting dynamic to explore. but the movie, it sets up this really interesting dynamic. It sets up a lot of really interesting characters, and then it takes a big ass motherfucking dump all over all this great setup in the end. This is like the worst ending. Not the worst ending ever. That would probably be Country for Old Men, but up there with one of the worst ending ever. That just actively pissed me off. And here's the thing: like when a movie like sucks and you're watching it all the way through, like Transformers or something, like yeah, this movie sucks and it sucks, so you just turn it off and it sucks. To me, that's less maddening, that's less upsetting than if a movie is good and it has good characters, good acting, good setup, and then it has an ending that's so bad it ruins the entire film and makes it into a bad film. That's a lot more frustrating to me. That pisses me off a lot more than simply, oh, this movie sucks, because of course it sucks. It sucks. But then you have a movie that's good and then it sucks when it should have been good. What the fuck? And that's what happened with this movie, Small Crimes, is because it had such an interesting dynamic of exploring the dynamic of contrast of what makes this guy, why is he becoming an asshole again? Is it because that everyone's treating him like an asshole, or are they right? Is it in his nature to be an asshole and they could just see through his act of being reformed? I actually thought, my personal opinion was that he actually was trying to be reformed. I did buy, even though he would go out to a strip club and drink when he was supposed to be in AA, like I think that was just because a lot of hard shit that he was dealing with, and I can understand a relapse. So I personally believe that he was trying to be a better person, and that everyone else around him treating him like an asshole is what made him an asshole again. But the ending doesn't handle this. And again, I'm not going to spoil it, although I wouldn't suggest watching this movie because it's just, the ending is just hard. The ending reminds me a lot of like a lot of these like made for cable or straight to cable movies that came out in the 90s after the Pulp Fiction craze that tried to like be all crime like and copy Pulp Fiction. That's what this movie reminds me of. It's just like, it was poorly constructed, and the ending was disturbing. And it was disturbing in a way that I did not like, because sometimes I love disturbing endings in movies. I love depressing endings in movies. Like my brothers used to know me as the depressing guy. Like if there was a movie with the depressing ending, I was there. But it has to be done right. You have to do it a certain way to make it work. Where in this film, it literally disturbed me in a way that was not good. It wasn't in a way that made me think, that made me contemplate, that made me think, why am I disturbed? It's the way that irks me, a way that thinks this is not good. This is not how a movie should make me feel. It should make me feel more analytical, because it made me feel empty. It made me feel like there was no reason or rhyme for the ending to be that disturbing, that they only did it that way to appear ironic or to appear cool. That, my friend, is bad writing. That is textbook bad writing. Writers don't know what the fuck they're doing. Anyway, see what's going on in the chat. Oh, shoot. Can't pronounce your username. Says, have you heard of the new Willow movie that may come out soon-ish? Warwick Davis. And so I heard Lucas has been discussing a little lately. I haven't. I'll be honest. I had not heard about that, but I wouldn't be that particularly interested in it either, because I had never been a big Willow fan. In fact, a couple years ago, I went and rewatched it because it's been decades since I've seen it, and I still wasn't that impressed with it. Sorry. So if they want to remake it, I don't know. Maybe I'll see it. Depends on how the trailer looks, but I'm not too excited about any buzz about them remaking it. Let's see. Marilyn says, how Afghan Tomke doing? Been a while since I've seen him on here since Westworld. I think he did a great video. Final topic. Yeah, he's doing fine. Colonel Doomsday mentioned he read a book. I definitely recommend it to buy that book, even though I haven't read it myself yet. As for me, it's like, how am I going to find the time? I'm going to try to find it somewhere, because I really do want to read it. And I hear it's really good. And I'm sure it's really good. I just have to try to find the time to read it. But I really want to. As soon as I have time, I'm going to read it. But I recommend definitely checking that out. It's on, you can get it from like $1 or an electrical version of it from Amazon for like $1 or $2 or something. Go support it. I wish I had a link. You can go to Ack and Tomka's channel. He'll give you a link. Anyway, let's see. When are we doing the trivia challenge, man? That's going to be next week. Monday for us, Cardinal Doomsday, but for the rest of you in America, it will be Sunday night. For us, it will be Monday morning next week. So 30th of September in America and October 1st from those, me and you, Cardinal, in Australia and New Zealand. So yeah, so it'll be next week. I still got some questions planned, but I'm really looking forward to that. So yeah, so the idea was to do one stream a week, because the first week of September it was the talking about Neelix. Second week it was my Deep Space Nine discussion with Wes, and this week is me blabbering on by myself, and next week it's going to be the trivia thing. Anyway, what else have we got going in the chat? Can I put AJ's homepage in the tab from Maryland? Yeah, sure. Oh, yeah, you already did it. There you go. It says, Willa has always been a cult thing rather than a super popular franchise. It always boggled my mind why it isn't more popular, but to each their own. I don't know. I just never got into it. I don't know. It's just not my thing, maybe. Anyway. That water's no good. Let's see if I can find it for a second. Here it is. This is the book my brother wrote. It's really, it's really snazzy looking. Actually, it looks like it's like a YA type fantasy story, and it's the first in a trilogy. So yeah, apparently everyone I know who read it says it's very professional. It's very good. It looks good to me. I remember reading a sample chapter that he first wrote like long time ago. Can't remember how long. It was a long time ago. But this is why he hasn't been doing that many YouTube videos as of late, is because he's been busy on this, which I'm actually a bit envious of, to be honest. I have written a few short stories myself. I've done a few short films. If you go to my channel, Gentleman of Eternity, there's you go down to the film playlist, and there's a film for short films that has a couple short films I did, if you're interested in that. But thing is, I've always wanted to do a book, write a book or make a movie or something where the main villain was called Fukar. That's just something I always wanted to do. I always pictured like, just having a villain whose name is Fukar, so the heroes can be like, oh, we have to stop this Fukar, and God damn that Fukar, and of course, like a lot of great stories will have like the parents involved, and parents will be like master villains as well. Like the Beowulf movie did this, like Prison Break did this. So I would want to do something similar too, where the parents of Fukar is also another villain, and it could be Mother Fukar, who would be the parent of the villain, who's also the main villain, and she'd do something evil and be like, Mother Fukar, God damn it. I know a lot of people aren't going to think that's funny, but I think it's hilarious. I want to do it too. I want to have a villain that's a really bad guy called Fukar. Damn you, Fukar! You Fukar! Those Fukars. Anyway. Colonel Doomsday says, did you work out the Expanse questions? Yes. I'm trying to figure out Star Wars questions now. I got the Expanse done. I still have a week left to do the quiz. The trivia. I haven't put it together yet. But I'll get there. Don't worry. Fukar, just because it sounds good. Yeah, exactly. Now it wouldn't be Fubar. It would be Fukar, and I would spell FOOKAR, Fukar. Anyway, yeah. I think that would be awesome. Yeah, it's funny because a lot of times when I'm like driving alone by myself, I'll have a particular, like, if I swear, and just thinking to myself, I have like phrases I use to swear at people instead of saying, oh, fuck. I used to say frack, but it's funny because I did this before Battlestar Galactica, the new version, came out. And people don't believe me because, of course, I didn't actually vocalize it. I just in my head. But I used to be like, oh, frack this and frack that. And so when Battlestar Galactica came out, I was like, hey, they went inside my head and stole my term. They stole it from me. But I think that really works. That's why it's I mean, it's kind of obvious when frack, like the what was it, Farscape, the one they did instead of saying fuck was frill, and that just does not work. That is the dumbest one I've heard yet. Maybe someone in check and tell. I think there's a few other shows that do a few other fuck substitutes, but I think frack was the best one. But the one I'm on to now, like, I don't really say frack much or think frack much anymore. The one I'm on now is Phlox, kind of like Dr. Phlox from Enterprise. In fact, sometimes I'll even be like, what the Dr. Phlox is he doing? I don't know. I'm weird. Now I'm kind of just babbling. But anyway, this is like saying smug if you're a dwarf. Yeah. What the Phlox? What the Dr. Phlox? Yes. Yes, thank you for noting my spell. You had to spell my fictitious villain correctly, god damn it. Anyway, might end this soon. Not getting as much participation as I would hoped I would be. Sometimes when I just pop on to do a quick announcement, I get a lot more participation. For a lot of people, probably scared off about all the internet issues I've been having. But anyway, did I get into all the YouTube channels I liked? I like Lore Runner. I like what else do I like to watch? Penske File, and of course, like, you know, Darren and Don and Abkin, all that. Of course, Abkin, I watch his videos immediately. Darren, like, at the moment, he's not reviewing any shows that I watch. I think he's doing like Preacher and stuff, so I'm not really watching him at the moment. But when he covers stuff, I watch him, like Phil the Issues Guy, of course, check him out when I can, and Don Willigan stuff. But other than that, like, there's this Game of Thrones reviewer called Steve. I don't know if you heard of him. I know Colonel Doomsday has. He told me about him, but I was already watching him at that point because yeah, his channel actually blew up. He has quite a big following. So Steve, he started when season 7 of Game of Thrones was airing, where he would just he would never seen any episode of Game of Thrones before, so he just started watching this right in the middle of season 7. And is trying to figure out what's going on with I haven't seen none of the episodes, none of the characters, having no context of what's going on. So it's funny. It's very funny. So he'd go and he like have little nicknames for the characters like Bastard King and Legolas Queen and and stuff like that. It's just hilarious. And some of the stuff he tried to put together with trying to figure out what's going on, it's funny. So after he did season 7, he actually started like having this thing where he'd go and watch random episodes completely out of order. It has like polls on this channel where I got the idea to do polls for my Star Trek videos, where I have polls and people can vote on which episode they want. So he'll just watch the episode out of order. I think he's watched more than half of the show by now, so it's gotten to the point where he's not as confused anymore. He pretty much picked up on all the major things. So some people may not find it as funny as it used to be, because it was really funny when he had no clue what was going on. Or now he pretty much knows what's going on. It's more of just his comedy styling of making up. But every time he's busy now, so he only puts out a video like every 2 or 3 weeks. It used to be every week, so that's a bit sad. But I always watch his videos as soon as he puts them out. So big fan of that channel. Marilyn Bentley says, Mark, forgive me if you covered this, but did you watch the last Star Wars movie about Han Solo? If so, what did you think? In fact, I did a review on the last movie of Han Solo, so if you want to hear my thoughts on that movie, you can watch my review. Just look it up, search for it on my channel, right there. Solo's movie review. I thought it was fine. It was kind of bland. Like, I didn't hate it. It wasn't offensive to me, but it was just like, it existed. It was fun. Like, it was entertaining movie. It was an entertaining use of my 2 hours. Like, I think the characters worked. I think the story was entertaining. But there's not much to it. It's what I would call forgettable. It's the kind of movie, like, I get in the movies, I watch it, I was like, oh, that's fun, that was enjoyable, and then it's completely wiped from my mind 2 hours later. Like, don't think about it again. I don't reference it. It's just, it's nothing. It's enjoyable, but it's nothing memorable. It's nothing amazing, and that's not what Star Wars should be. Star Wars should be something memorable. It should be something you talk about. It should be something you revisit. You want to watch it over again. Something that's amazing, and that's not what it was. So I can kind of, even though I don't think it's a bad movie, I can get why their whole Han Solo backstory, and I think they had a lot of too many like references in that movie. Way too many references. Like in my review, I was making fun of that. I was like, reference. Get it? Reference to Star Wars, and that it was really bad in that movie. But I can kind of get why people are saying they have Star Wars fatigue, franchise fatigue, because I think it is too much. They shouldn't have movies like that are, even though it's not a bad movie, it's forgettable, and it's just too much fluff. And they recently announced, getting into like movie news or whatever, they recently announced that they, especially because Solo didn't perform nearly as well as they hoped, part of the reason is because they released it so soon after The Last Jedi, which was just stupid. Like, everyone was screaming, what the hell are you doing releasing this in May? Release it in December like the other stuff. And then they were like, oh no, but Disney's releasing Mary Poppins in December. Fine. Release it in September, then release it in October. Don't fucking release it in the summer at the same time as fucking Deadpool 2 and Infinity Wars. That's just dumb. But they're like, no, Star Wars is awesome. It always draws in the audience, so it's still going to make a lot of money. Didn't. Some people called it a bomb, which I don't know if that's accurate, because it's still, if you look at it, it's one of the highest grossing movies of the year. It still made a fuck ton of money. It just didn't do as well as they hoped. And of course, the film, the profit was really low because the film itself was ridiculously over budget. So it wasn't that much of a, like, if you look at it, for the takeaway that they got is minuscule compared to the other Star Wars films. So I can see why some people would see it as a failure, but you have to put it into the context. Like, there's so many people saying, oh, it bombed. Maybe being one of the top grossing movies of the all year is not considered a bomb. It doesn't matter how much they spent on it, but it didn't do as well as they had hoped. So I do agree that they do need to step back on the Star Wars franchise and not put out so many movies. Like, they're talking about a Boba Fett movie, Obi-Wan Kenobi movie. Actually, to be honest, I would have liked the Boba Fett movie, but apparently a lot of people say they don't want one. I didn't want a Han Solo movie. I don't want an Obi-Wan Kenobi movie. That seems a lot less interesting. We don't need an Obi-Wan Kenobi movie. Don't fucking do that. It's a waste of my time. But the thing is like, with Boba Fett, some people are like, oh, why do you want a Boba Fett movie? Because we don't even know anything about that character. Exactly! That's why I want a Boba Fett movie, because we don't know anything about that character. Han Solo, we know enough about him. We don't need a backstory. Obi-Wan Kenobi, we know enough about him. We don't need to know any more about him. His background character who's just sitting there looking cool, we don't know shit about him, so I want to know more about him. But anyway, I'd ultimately be fine if they don't do a Boba Fett movie too. Instead, they focus more on it's funny because the Disney head or whatever, he mentioned, oh, we're going to focus more on Episode 9 with J.J. Abrams and Dan and Dave, their Star Wars movie, but didn't mention anything about Rian Johnson's trilogy. So I don't know if that's still going forward, because all the fanboys are like, hate Rian, Ruin Johnson, they call him. Well, I honestly would want to see Rian Johnson's trilogy more than any of this other stuff, particularly Dan and Dave. not very thrilled about Dan and Dave doing a Star Wars movie, I have to say, after the performance with season 7. But anyway, Marilyn Bentley says, to me, it was a fun little movie, but I agree it was forgettable. It also proved Emily Clark is not just good of an actress, in my opinion. Sorry. See, that's where I'd actually disagree with you. I actually thought, I hear that a lot, people saying Emily Clark isn't a good actress, and I don't see it. I think she's fine. I don't think she's the best actress ever. I don't think she's amazing. But I think she's fine. I think she was fine in that movie. I think she's fine in Game of Thrones. I think the performances where she was obviously like really bad was like bad movies like Terminator Genesis. Like you could say, oh, she was awful in that movie, but that's just an awful movie all around. I think if a movie has a good director, like Game of Thrones often have good directors, and freaking Solo had Ron Howard, I think she's fine. I thought she was good in that movie. I actually said that in my review that I thought she gave a good performance. But again, that's just my opinion. You want to think she did a bad performance, that's fine. That's your opinion. All good. Anyway, what else? Yeah, Colonel Doomsday says, isn't one Mary Poppins movie enough? Yeah, I never even liked Mary Poppins, even as a kid. It's just not my thing. Never liked it. I have absolute zero interest in seeing a remake. Zero. Is the Boba Fett movie true? Yeah, well, I don't know if it's still going forward, but a while ago they did announce that they were going to do a Boba Fett movie. But again, they just recently said they're going to cut back and not try to do not many Star Wars movies, so that movie might have gotten axed. I think they had a director attached who dropped off as well, so I think they might just be scrapping that idea. But originally, it was the plan to do one. Dan and Dave do Star Wars head and stops. Yeah, that's the one thing that's definitely confirmed. They're definitely going to do Dan and Dave Star Wars movies. God help us all. Well, don't know if I have anything else to blabber about. If I've sort of run its course with blabbering. Oh yeah, I keep getting distracted by YouTube channels I like. I also like, because I got distracted on Screen Junkies. I started getting Collider, but I don't like them as much. I just like the Schmodown. I think it's cool. I touched on the Anti-Trekker. Now that's an interesting one because he's one of those YouTubers who brings up SJWs every other sentence, which I got into earlier. Not going to get into that again, but I actually don't have an issue. I actually really enjoy his channel because even though like sometimes he'll like do liberal bashing and I really disagree with his politics in that regard, and that irritates me. But other than that, I actually really enjoy his channel because what he does is that he takes a movie or an episode of Star Trek. At the moment, like he's doing all the Borg material, and he'll, rather than just do an overall review like I do or like Lore Runner does, he'll analyze it like scene by scene and like go through the episode or movie itself. Like First Contact, he did like a 35-part series where he did like 35 videos going into detail of Star Trek First Contact scene by scene, just dissecting it and what it doesn't work. And again, I don't always agree with him, but that's fine. It's okay to not agree with someone and still enjoy their material and like their stuff. And I like what he does. And so at the moment, like I just watched this video on Scorpion, the Voyager two-parter with the Borg, which he loves, and I agree. And he's pointing out a lot of stuff which I hadn't thought of before, which makes that episode even better. So yeah, and he absolutely tears into Discovery and rips into Discovery, and I don't always agree with him there. But he had this one video where it was his version of Discovery, and I actually thought that was really good. I made a comment on that saying, actually, I don't hate Discovery like you do, but that actually would improve the show a hell of a lot than what they did. So that's another channel I like to watch. I don't know if there's, I talked about Steve. I'm not sure if there's any other channels really. This is mainly the channels like I'm into. yeah, I try to watch all their things into the Penske file now. Definitely would recommend that for the Star Trek fans out there. Anyway, I think, hold on, let's see. What Marilyn Bentley says. Oh, Dan and Dave are doing a Star Wars movie, Ice Planet of Hoth, I think was called a Bring in Mr. Freeze, aka the Night King. Come on, Mark, do your fucking cartoon thing. Okay. It's a fucking cartoon! It's more of a joke now. Oh, Marilyn, by the way, keep an eye on my channel because next month I'll be doing actually going to start making it soon, but I'm not releasing it until the end of October. But keep an eye out. I'll be doing a video where it's how I would write season 7 of Game of Thrones. So if I was the writers on Game of Thrones, if I was the master, how would I craft season 7? Since I bashed season 7 a lot, and they were like, okay, smart guy, well, how would you do it? Well, I'm going to show you how. And so I'm going to do a 2-part series the end of October. I've actually been planning on doing this for years, not years, but months. But I keep putting it off. I keep putting it off. I'm finally going to get to it. So yeah, keep an eye on that. You might enjoy that. And I'll do more of those character analysis videos as well. Yeah, because I was inspired by Preston Jacobs. If you watch his channel, you might have seen that. He did a video like that, which I really enjoy, and I'd recommend it. I'm going to credit him because I'm kind of stealing his idea. But I'm inspired by his idea to do that. That I kind of want to do the same because I do think that he improved a lot on season 7, but I would do it differently than he did. Like, I had a few issues with some things that he did. Like, for example, having when he had Podrick murder Brienne, like I was just like, no, come on. But other than that, I think a lot of his changes were way better than what Dan and Dave did. So I want to do my own version. Again, people might have similar reactions to my version. We'll pick on one thing like, come on, that's stupid, Mark. But then like some of the other things. And it's a bit sad too when like all the fans can come up with a better season 7 than what Dan and Dave did. Shaking my head so I can say it and do it at the same time. Marilyn Bentley says, I love it. I felt your pain after season 7 finale in Game of Thrones. It was awful. Yes. Thank you. Thank you. It was. It's very hard for me to listen to people defend that. It's like, I mean, everyone has their opinion and personal taste, and that's your thing. Okay, fine. But anyway, yes, Colonel Doomsday says I was disheartened after season 7. That's true. Marilyn Bentley says, I adore Preston. I know many people don't like him, but I do. Some consider him a book snob, which he is, no doubt, but he's good. I like his pairing up with Carmine from Red Team Review. Colonel Doomsday says, that freaked me out, Podrick murdered and Brienne. I'm like, what? Yeah, I enjoy Preston's channel from time to time, but I would call myself a huge fan. Like, again, I'm not going to bash him or say anything negative. I loved his videos about how he would write season 7. But I don't really care for his theory stuff, just my opinion, my tastes. Like, his theories are just way too convoluted and out there for me, personally. Like I said, I actually prefer Alt-Shift-X. Because he's a bit more straightforward. And a lot of people bitched about Alt-Shift-X because he just took like theories from message boards and like Reddit and stuff. But he's taking theories and putting it into YouTube form. And he credits the people. He says outright, these aren't all my original ideas. I'm just taking what I've heard from here and presenting this in a video. And I think that's great. I think there's nothing wrong with it. I think he does a good job of doing it. I think most of the time he can come up with more tangible, more straightforward theories. Although, as I said, sometimes like he's a Daenerys hater, which I'm really not on board with. Like I had a whole video about this again, and yeah, other things I already talked about this later, but I still love his channel. Yes. Expat Aussie saw him. And oh, is he an expat Aussie? Where's he living now? I can definitely recognize an Australian accent. The storm of ice and fire In the Song of Ice and Fire, George R. R. Martin talks. That's not bad. I used to be able to do a good impression of him, but I can't do it anymore. Like Phil the Issues Guy had a friend. I think it was the Walking David. Used to do a really good impression of old shit. Like, in the Song of Ice and Fire. No, something like that. I don't know. Anyway, I've been speaking of impressions. I've been trying out my David Statham. Is that his name? David Statham impression? I think so. The dude who was in the Transporter and the Fast and Furious franchise and Lock, Stock, and Smoking Barrels. I'll just Google him for. Yeah, David. Is it? Statham. David Statham. That's his name. Is it David? Yeah. No, Jason. God damn it. Jason Statham. Yeah, that makes a lot more sense. So it's Jason Statham, the dude from the Fast and Furious and all that shit. I try to do an impression of him, and it's not very good. I'll do it for you just to make it a little flaw. A friend says it sounds like sounds more like an Australian accent. But anyway, I'm David Statham. I'm Jason Statham. Oh, look at my arm, Jason Statham. There's a shock. Okay. I'm so bad. I am so bad at doing accents. I try to do every time I try to do an Irish accent, I sound more Indian than I do Irish. Do not ask me how that happens. And like some people are like, oh, do a New Zealand accent because I lived here for 15 years. You think I could do a decent, but I can't. Anyway, yeah. Yeah, I know it's not very good. Colonel Doomsday. Not very good. Oh, Joyce and Stoic. Oh my god. Joyce and Statham. He sounds more like this. Oh, so bad. So bad. Pretty good Yoda impression I do, though. I used to be able to do an awesome Yoda impression, but it's been years I'm sort of out of practice. Go to this website, you will. Click on the link. Yeah, I used to do better now. I'm not impressed with that myself, either. Oh, yeah, I'll be honest. Yeah, like sometimes when I come in just to make an announcement, I get like tons of people in the chat and they all want to chat. But it's like, look, I'm only going to be here for 5 minutes. So I was expecting that kind of turnout, but no, it's only like 5 people. I guess I'm doing it too late. It's like, what is it, after midnight in the East Coast? That's a Friday, though, isn't it? Yeah, but anyway, whatever. I think I'm going to end this chat here. I've been going for 3 hours almost. What's not too bad? The Yoda. You must be talking about the Yoda. Not too bad because the Jason Statham one was awful. Anyway, I think that's all I wanted to talk about, really. Let's kind of get into everything I wanted to get into. So I'm going to go ahead and end this discussion here. I'm going to thank you guys so much for sticking with me, Colonel Doomsday, Marilyn Bentley, anyone who was in the chat earlier, anyone who dropped by, anyone who's watching this in archives. Thank you for sticking through this BS. Oh, Gabriel says I'm in Texas and it's 10:38. Okay, so it's not too late. Well, I was thinking more of like the East Coast. It's midnight, right? And the East Coast would be midnight, pretty sure. Anyway, I'm out of here. Thank you guys so much for watching and for checking out my channel. Be sure to continue to check it out as I'll be putting up a lot of stuff. Marilyn Bentley says I'm cracking her up. Well, I'm glad. Good. I'm glad I'm cracking you up. But anyway, yes, thank you guys so much. And yeah, I'll see you next week for the trivia. Remember, next week, for Sunday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, so 5 p.m. on the West Coast. So for me and you, Cardinal, that would translate, or for me anyway, that would translate to Monday morning at, is it Monday morning? Or no, it would be noon. Monday at 12 noon for me. So I guess that's like 10 a.m. for you or something. Monday morning. Pretty sure that's the time we agreed on. Yeah, I'll double check my messages, but I'm pretty sure we agreed 8 o'clock East Coast, which is 5 o'clock for West Coast, Sunday night. So not 2 days from now, obviously there, but next week, 30th, Sunday the 30th, for us it will be Monday the 1st of October. We will be doing a trivia. Round 2 of the trivia. I'm still coming up with the trivia questions. It will be Josh, it'll be Darren, it'll be Apkin, it'll be squaring out for the round 2 of the trivia challenge and to try to get into this thing anyway. Yeah, so be sure to check out that. Also, I'm making tons of videos to be released in September, including starting the coverage of Lost for any Lost fans out there. Thank you guys so much. Oh, it's not, what? Is it noon now? Where is it noon, Cardinal? Oh, you mean the time? Yeah, that's always the time I had it for, at least. I think it was 8 p.m. in the East Coast, US. So that'll be noon. Anyway. See you guys later. Thanks a lot for watching.